Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. And I'm going to tell you all two things in this message, double message. First thing I want to tell you all is based on a conversation, I was reminded of it by a conversation I had with a brother out of New York. Two women tried paternity fraud on him. One succeeded for 3 years. He went ahead and raised the baby himself. He went ahead and raised the baby himself without the actual mother after he found out he was not the father, because he figured she had a better chance with him raising her as his own than she had with her biological mother. Turns out that he's doing okay. She's doing okay. The mother is still 17 years later on SNAP benefits. The biological mother, he got full custody. That tells me something. Second time was a Jamaican woman trying to put a mixed baby on him. And I assume that she was a black Jamaican because that's 95% of the Jamaican population. The non-black Jamaicans, I think they make up, we're either 91 or 95% of Jamaica's population, we meaning black people. So that means that somewhere between 5 to 9 are not black. He didn't specify any other origin. Therefore, I assumed that it was a majority black Jamaican woman trying to put a mixed baby off on this black American man from New York. She tried it. It came out in the wash or in the rinse that she was after his military benefits and child support. She wanted a green card and his military benefits. The thing is, when he told the story, I've decided to go ahead and ask him, how many people who know your situation try to tell you that you should have chosen better? And I'm not asking to be a smart mouth. I'm trying to see something, though. And he said there were some who said that, but that in those days, any moderately attractive woman in New York was trying to be like Foxy Brown. And he didn't have it together. Now, this is the funny thing. He had it together enough for these women to pin babies on him that weren't his, but he didn't have it together enough for them to go ahead and just, with reckless abandon, get pregnant by him. That means he didn't have the genetic currency that Edward Anderson brings up often. Shout out to the Reverend Brother Pastor Deacon Doctor Master of Long Wind Jutsu, Edward Anderson. I then said, well, it comes down to this. Of course, they're going to tell you choose better. But as you said, and as I've observed, there was nothing better to choose. Anyone else you could have chosen would have done the same thing, not because of you, but because of them, because of the market, because of the environment. They're just absolutely not going to be any better because nothing's forcing them to. And this is why I say to you, gentlemen, I've said it before, I've seen the pattern, but this is another example I've seen, so I'm telling it to you while it's still fresh in my memory. This is why I say to you, gentlemen, do not accept accountability in front of them. Only accept accountability privately and for those scenarios over which you had adequate control, of which you had adequate knowledge, and of which you had adequate knowledge of adequate alternatives. If one of those three elements was missing, you didn't have a better situation. You really didn't have much of a better choice. Some people say, well, you Muslim, why don't you tell these brothers to be abstinent? I would say that. That is true. However, what I don't say is be celibate. Those are two different things. To put it off till marriage, sure, fine. Problem is, marriage is not an option. So what I'm going to tell you is that, again, the passport, it's leaving, it's getting a skill set in the passport and fitting the guck out of the states that is the option. Because celibacy is not natural, and fornication is going to cost in this life and in the next. whether you believe in another life or not. If you don't believe in one, well, go ahead and commit all the fornication you want. You will find out how true or false I was. You will find out how correct or mistaken I was when you close your eyes in death. But I'm not going to sit up here and tell men to be unnaturally celibate either, except, of course, that I tell them something that will lower the libido, like fasting. If you're going to go that route temporarily or permanently, then engage in fasting to lower the libido. And if your testosterone levels and therefore your body strength do drop, so furthermucking what? A woman does not deserve to benefit from these things if they refuse to do what it takes to maintain them. That's it. If that means recreational sex, so be it. Get married, but tell her to bend the hell over that couch. Recreational sex it is. Sorry, Miss Philosophy, but sometimes it has to be recreational. Now, next thing I was going to tell you is that when you do accept accountability for a situation over which you had adequate control, of which you had adequate knowledge, and of which you had adequate knowledge of adequate options, you still do that only privately, and here's why. Publicly, you're not going to be allowed to finish the thought to explain the difference between when you accept accountability and when you don't. The daggle will interrupt you because they know you're going to speak with reason, you're going to crush their platform, and they don't want that. Instinctively, subconsciously, they know you're going to use logic to crush their emotions and their fantasies, so they're going to cut you off. Anyway, now that we got that out the way, I've dealt with that balanced scenario in which you do accept accountability when you had all of the necessary elements of power to accept accountability. You just don't do it in front of them because they'll tell you to do the right thing and they got the wrong reasons for doing it. You also don't shirk accountability when it actually does apply to you. You're being fair, but that doesn't mean that you're sitting up here confessing everything to them and taking accountability when it does not apply to you. Next, the other story I wanted to tell you is that when I was traveling with my wife from the international airport here back to the city in which we live and work, we start work again tomorrow, we were traveling with two of her colleagues, two lady teachers. One is a North African. She's in her 30s looking for a husband. She doesn't want to be a second, third, or fourth wife. She's not going to find one. I finally had to break it to her. I was looking for him. I finally had to tell her, just like I thought was going to happen, all the men that are not already married to someone else aren't going to marry someone your age. All the ones who have agreed to marry someone your age or even to discuss it with you are married to someone else too. Those are your options. When I told her, well, let me explain it to you like this. Okay, when I told her this, the other colleague of my wife, co-worker, is an African-American Muslima from Philadelphia. Now, she sounds like she's from Philadelphia, Mississippi, as country as she is, but she says she's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She is not only Muslima, she is Salafia. She wears a niqab. That's it. She takes pretty much every fatwa that comes out of a specific country in the Arabian Gulf. Now, she's not a mean person. Not at all. She's good to my wife. She's polite with me. We get along fine. But I do want to point this out. When I mentioned what I was finding to the Tunisian, the Philly sister said, I get so sick of these old men trying to find them young women's. It's like they just want to control and be the boss. She had just told me, when I said something about how I wasn't my sharpest if I didn't get enough sleep, she said, it's your job to be sharp and get that bread even if you don't get enough rest. She had said this a few minutes before. So it's my job to bear burdens even if I don't get the adequate rest at night to bear the burdens in the day, so as to get the bread to bring home, the halal bacon to the family. But a few minutes later, in another conversation, she sits up and says that she's sick of older men looking for younger women. Now, I have my own reasons for being sick of that, but they're not hers. She said it, and I had to say to her, so the man must pay the cost and not be the boss. And that is exactly why it is that men are willing to fly over the Atlantic Ocean. Well, brothers were willing to fly over, meaning Muslim brothers. African-American Muslim brothers, mostly Salafi, are willing to fly over the Atlantic Ocean, spend 6 hours on a plane to get to Morocco and marry some Moroccan village girl if that's who they find, and will pass up the African-American sister. There's your reason right there. You are like the strictest of the Muslims, and you're looking for a man to pay the cost and not be the boss. How unbalanced is that? You get sick and tired of hearing men complain about having to do their job. Men get sick and tired of having to hear you all tell them how they're not the boss and they still got to pay the cost. No wonder they go to Morocco and get women from there. I did that before I met my wife. And had it not been for the way that the laws were ucking fuck because they got old punk ass king, I wouldn't have regretted it. Now, I didn't raise my voice to tell her this, and my wife diplomatically changed the subject. I'm not an enemy to this lady, but black men, Muslim men in the US and Canada and the UK, what I want to tell you is that even the Western black Muslima, you cannot afford to go proposing to. If you're going to marry one, she needs to be from the position you want her to be in, submissive, and she still needs to send somebody to ask about you first. She don't need to sit back waiting on you to notice her so you go ask her who her wali or who her wakil is or her dad's number or something. No, they need to come to you. It pretty much needs to be too good to be true, to be honest with you. Not because all of them are bad. It's because just like amongst the non-Muslims, the bad ones are the ones that are out there and available. I'm going to tell you, gentlemen, you may think that this is a story that happens to some guys. No, you gentlemen have a very high chance of discussing it with her, going through the proper channels, waiting until marriage and paying the dowry, only for somebody else to be digging her out for free the whole time you were discussing the marriage and saving up to pay the dowry. You have a high chance of that if you're going to stay in the West. And if you don't have to go through all of that, if that's not what happens to you, whether you discover it or not, you still are going to have to pay the cost only to not be the boss. See, understand this, women want the dowries whether they're bossy or submissive. You might as well get you a submissive one. I'm sick of older men sometimes. I'm not sick of older men finding what they want in younger women. I am sick of older men settling for what they want in younger women, or rather I should say I'm sick of men not requiring maturity. It's not really the age difference so much that bothers me, but I am sick and tired of mature men allowing immature women to come into their lives and catch a dick. That does bother me. Sick of that. But it's not just age. I'm sick of educated men allowing illiterate women into their lives. I'm sick of intelligent men allowing dumb women, responsible men allowing irresponsible women into their lives. And this is going on amongst the Muslims too, because we got these forebears, these elders, even compared to me, that really did spend their youth when they were Muslim trying to clean up African American communities in different parts of the country. They really did try. I applaud them for that. They put forth the effort. They didn't get any thanks for it. Hell, it was a Sunni Muslim, Duruba bin Wahad, I think, that helped to bust Assata Shakur out of prison, if I'm not mistaken. That's revolution, but he has not been given his proper appreciation. And that's not fair to him. And he's not the only one. So what I'm saying is that these Sunni African American Muslim men are not being appreciated for what they did do, But what they are doing wrong now today is that they are simping from behind the pulpits, from behind the minbar, and always talking about what we brothers ain't doing to step it up and look after the widows and the orphans. Man, we did not make these widows and orphans. And they don't really mean widows and orphans, to be honest. What they really mean is baby mamas and other men's babies. That's really who they're talking about. I married a widow. That's a vastly different thing. That's vastly different. There was nothing about her thoughty at all, and yet she still knew what to do as a wife when the doors were closed. It's nothing like you getting with these baby mamas in the States, Canada, the UK, the rest of the West for that matter. Sometimes even Colombia. Some guys have said that in one city in Colombia, all of them are baby mamas, and in another city, they can find the ones without kids. I don't know how, I can't remember which city it was. Some of them say that in the DR, they're all baby mamas. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'm glad I don't go there, especially trying to trick. But they say that they can find wives if they're willing to go younger. A lot of brothers really ain't looking for women that are too young, to be honest, once brothers get older. So it's not a reality, as much of a reality as what the Philly sister was talking about. Because see, the North African lady, the Tunisian, was dealing largely with traditional Muslim men from traditional Muslim backgrounds. They're more likely to say, I don't care if I turn 80, you're going to be in your 20s when I dig you out the first time, and I'm going to bust that cherry, or you're going back to your dad's house. They're the ones that are more likely to say this. Unless, of course, they're already married to someone else and they've done all of that, and then they'll take on a second or third or fourth so as to help someone out and still dig her out. This is what is out there. This is what is available. And one of the things I had to tell to the North African and to the Philly sister with the neck rolls is, listen, when men are young, their young age counts against them because of the money they don't have. Then we get older and the old age counts against us because of the health we don't have. There's always some reason we don't qualify. And you know what? That's okay if that's your opinion and you all's preferences, but we're allowed to have preferences too. That means somebody's not going to make the cut. You're just mad because it works both ways. You're just mad because you can be told no. That's really what it comes down to. And it wasn't really the North African that's mad because she can be told no. It was, for the most part, the Philly sister, who's even older, mad because she could be told no. So what I wanted to say to you Muslim brothers is, man, look, these old cats we got sitting behind the minbars, some of them are even imams or their assistants to the imams. They're simps. They're not chumps and wimps per se in everything else in life, but they are simps because of the training. And they're trying to train you to be, don't do none of the stuff they're telling you to do for the loose-lipped, I'm talking downstairs-lipped sister, just because she has on a hijab or a niqab even. The dysfunction amongst those of us in the hood is real. And I'm not going to lie to you young brothers, just because I'm black and I'm Muslim, that we got it too. We got the same issues. And it ain't really the brothers bringing this stuff in. Just like amongst the non-Muslims, you got a small group of Muslim brothers that act like they ain't Muslim, bringing the problems into the community and sharing them with the bulk of the sisters. That's what's going on, even amongst us. You fly over to Morocco, you can marry a black Moroccan, you could marry a pale-skinned Moroccan, you could marry the ones in the middle. Take your pick. That's just Morocco. That's where a lot of brothers are going, and I understand why. But I want y'all to spread this word, hit the share button, and the word is not the West, Morocco. Western Sahara, which some people call a part of Morocco if they want to, Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia, Northern Ghana, Northern Nigeria. That's the word. Ivory Coast, if you don't mind French. Chad, Niger, if you don't mind French. Mali, if you don't mind French. If you can deal with that as a second language, you got even more options. The word is, I wouldn't say so much Egypt. Not going to say that. The word is Sudan. People ain't complaining about them. The word is the Horn in East Africa. Now I'm talking about just the Muslims. The word is Southern Philippines, southern Thailand, where the Muslims are. Matter of fact, the word is no longer even Malaysia. I got to take that back because in the survey done of married women in Malaysia, 39% of them confessed to having committed adultery. Maybe rural Malaysia. Maybe we can include that. Indonesia, sure. These are the words. This is the word right now. But the West is done, even when you're dealing with the Western raised Muslims, because when they're not evil and vicious and they don't hate you, they still got that brainwashing. You must pay the cost and not be the boss. And they are very attentive to your responsibilities and their rights in Islam. And they are hypo-attentive to their responsibilities and your rights in Islam. And believe you me, even though a sexless marriage is pretty much forbidden in Islam, outside of major illnesses and things like that, you will have a high chance of winding up in a sexless marriage, marrying a Western Muslim. I know. I went through it, and a friend of mine has gone through it, and another. And a friend of my friend has gone through it. I don't know who he is. He didn't tell me the name, but he confided to me about his scenario. And without giving names, he confided in me that someone else he knew, one of his boys, is going through something similar. I mean, come on. That's as haram as fornication is. But as I've always said, regardless as to a woman's background, if she's not sick and she doesn't want to have sex with you, she's screwing somebody else. Especially if she's already married to you and she doesn't want to lay with you, she's effing someone else. You might as well get a private attorney and just catch her in the act. Leave the Western Muslims alone, and this is why I've said so. I said it before, but I'm giving you now another example to back up what I said previously because it's fresh in my memory, and I would be remiss if I did not tell you what happened, since I'm not going to give any names. You are being not only expected, but for the most part commanded to accept bad deals they would never accept from you. Like something's wrong with you if you don't. Like, how dare you not accept these bad deals? Now that we got that out the way, thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, black in, black out. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.